All right, welcome back to the golf shop. And what I have here is my controlled chaos. We have enough parts to make 2 full sets of clubs. And what it is, a father and son came from West Virginia, went through a fitting, and we determined this stuff is going to turn into golf clubs that they're going to be able to use and use well. And today what we're going to do is we're going to start with the driver. We're going to work at the top of the set and go all the way down. Now, we talk about consistency. How do you put consistency into a golf club? Well, in this particular instance, we know we did a lot of testing, and we know these are the shafts, these are the heads, these are the grips that we want to use to make the driver that's going to work well, get the maximum output from their golf swings, and this is why we're putting them together. Now, on average, an average golf club assumes about a 60-gram golf shaft. It also assumes about a 200 to 205 gram head. It also assumes around a 45 to 50 gram grip. Why is there such a range? Because each grip's a little different than the next. And each shaft's a little different than the next. And each head is a little different from the next. So in order to know what you're building, you've got to weigh it. All right? And I've weighed a lot of these things already. All right? I've weighed the grips. We have the grips from Pure Grip. This is the DXT. It's a much more aggressive grip. It's got a really good texture. If you're a guy that likes a very aggressive grip or a corded style grip but just don't want to get into the cord, this is an excellent grip to be using. It's made from 100% rubber, injection molded, and very, very consistent, to the point, out of all these grips, 1 gram difference between these. This was a gram heavier than these. That's it. All right, and that's for the dad. For the son, these are Pure Grips, but they're of a different make. These are kind of like we call the Tour Velvet size, or the Pro model for Pure Grip. And these were all one weight, and this was 1 gram heavier. Completely consistent. Love that about these guys. All right, I love the fact that they have these colors that are going to go into it too. But if you like the black or the whites, they have those too, but they have a rainbow of flavors. Also, we're going to use in Juniors Club is an Excalibur Model 5A, and it has a profile that allows the whole entire club to come around instead of just the tip whipping. Now, he's a younger guy getting ready to become a very good golfer, and this is going to help him get the maximum head speed, the maximum contact with the right weight. Okay, total weight is very important. Everybody talks about, oh, what's the swing weight? What's the swing weight? What's more important is the total weight, because if it's too heavy, just like swinging baseball bats, you see they fall back and they don't get into a good position to make a swing. Same thing when you get to the top of the swing. It can pull you over, pull you out of shape. All these different things can go bad if you don't have the right total weight. All right, and so we're doing for that one. For Dad, we're using the UST Mamiya VTS 5R white. The white is for the torque specification. Black is the lowest amount of torque, meaning the least amount of torque and least amount of twisting. The white is in the middle, so it does a little bit more, and then they have a red that even has more than that. The 5 is for the 50 gram weight, which was a good pick for him. And when they say 50, that's their general number. The specification is actually 57. And it's a tour spec shaft. Tour spec is only for selected dealers across the country. And what this allows us to do is, obviously, it doesn't look like anything you can get in the stores, which is one thing. 2, it's built to a tighter specification, so we're giving a better shaft to the golfer. All right, and then we have the heads. The heads are from Washon. These are the 919. This is a proven head. It's been around for a couple of years now, and it used the cup face technology, where basically it's made like that, and then the rest of the head is made around it, so you have a larger sweet spot, not a larger center of gravity, but a larger sweet spot. I like about this is one of the few clubs that are around that you can actually bend. You always taboo for bending, and most guys probably can't do it. because you have to have a certain clamping device to hold on to it in order to bend this club. So when you see clubs that are sitting that are up like that, that's completely wrong, right? We want it to be somewhere near being sold. So we can special order what we want. For instance, I wanted a 1 degree closed face on this one, so I got 11 degree, 1 degree closed face, okay? And that's on my 11 degree club. Where this one is the high launch, which means it's about a 12 or 13 degree. All right, so I'll show you what we're looking for over here. So I'll show you I'm using a model, a scale that literally I got from a bath company. And what I've done is I have got some calibrated weights, set them on here, and they weighed out just right. And that's what I wanted. So it doesn't have to be anything fancy, nothing NIST traceable, for those of you who know what NIST is. It just needs to be very, very accurate, and that's what this is. So we're right at 200, so we're close with that one. And this one is the 11 degrees, so I might put just a tad bit more weight into that one. And let me get the other one. And that's 101, or 201, so that's just right exactly where I want it for the little kid. So now the other ones we weighed out. This was 57 grams, this was 57 grams, and we know what the weights are on these. They're off by where they're off by 1. So now we've got that taken care of. So now, based on our specifications, we now have to build to a particular flex. And you always start off uncut, ungripped. So we have Jace, who gets this one, and Dad gets this one. And I'm looking for a particular flex. We get that put in there. Now on the next one, we get the, what I'm looking for is something I haven't shown you, so this will be a trick coming up here, so pay attention. I'm just getting a general idea of what it's going to be at right around 45 inches. Put it in the frequency analyzer from Maltby. Use the laser eye to make sure it goes. Got it up and down, so it says 240 on that. And we're right about where we want to be. Okay, so it's a little high, but when I put my weight in, it'll bring it down, and it'll bring it into the area that I want. Now, how else do we do the balancing? Well, this is the part that, here's another trip. Everybody talks about flowing. Everybody talks about finding a spine. All right, and so that's what we're going to do for this particular shaft. We're going to find the spine, and then we're going to flow the head. Now, they are independent checks, but they need to be done together. And I always like to say that this is, let me get this out of the way. All right, and what we're doing is we're looking for the hard side of it. And normally, a good one is really hard to find. A hard one, it'll just flip right to it. It's ponk, and it's right there. I got one right about here. All right, so now as I'm holding it here, I get my Sharpie, and I make a line across the top so I have a reference point. Put this back. Now, spine finders. You can buy them commercially on there. There's some that are made. The important part about a spine finder is the distance from here to here and the fact that you're using really good bearings. All right, you can't use junk in these things, because if they get clickety-clackety, then you're finding the hard spot on the bearing and not the hard spot on the shaft. All right, so if you go to make this by hand, and you can tell these are pieces right out of the local department store like Lowe's or Home Depot or Menards or whatever, but the bearings are from actual bearing companies, and ones that either you can clean or ones that can be sealed. It's purely up to you. But they got to be, the race, which is the inside part of this, all right, has got to be big enough to accept the butt end, which is normally the maximum is about a 0.62. So you want something at least a 0.75, 3/4 of an inch. That's probably a little bit bigger, but it does the job. Right, like I said, you can buy one or you can make one. It's just purely up to you. All right, I'll put this back. So we found that. we want to put this back into the head. And now we have the line on top. Well, it's like putting the line on the top. We can argue about where it goes all day. There's evidence to say which place to put it. It does what. You can put it in the back and it makes it go lower. You put it in the front, it makes it go higher. Well, when we started out doing this, there was a rule that you could not mess around with the spine of the shaft, just like saying on a NASCAR you couldn't modify a car. Well, we figured out by putting it neutral was acceptable, and that's the way the shaft bent anyway, so that's where we're going. I don't know if you can see that. All right, let's get it so we got a line here. All right, let's get this out of the way. All right, so what we want here is, if you see my dot, that's funny. There we go. What I'm looking for is it to go straight up and down, and it's not doing it. So we do some adjusting. This might be off a little bit. See, it's got that, can see the circle? See how it's turning around? That's also, here, let's do it bigger. What I'm looking for is the lines going straight up and down in order to get it. So now we have a good balance, just so you can see it. See that? That's what we're looking for. So now that we've finally found it, what you do is you mark a line on the back, on the shaft and on the head, and that way you know where to put it together. And that's basically put you in the right church, right pew for balancing the club. So let's do this with the next one. All right. That's this one. And now in this particular model, this one already comes with lines on it. So it's got two. This one I like putting at the top where this one faces either before or after, whether it's right-handed or left-handed. Now, see how that flips around really easy? What we want to do in order to stop that, because it's got to be in a certain position when we check, use just a real quick piece of fishing line. You always want to have a steady piece of wood in the shop, because that's what you can always bang on, always use to press against. There. See, now it's not turning. All right, so we get the red line up using my Abrade ruler. I go to 45 inches. Now the finished length will not be 45, but it's a good reference point to know whether or not you're going to be okay. I'll put these up here. All right, let's check this guy out. 222 and 18. Good, right about where I want it to be. So now let's check and make sure that it's in the flowing. Okay, flow stands for flat line oscillation, and where we've found the spine and we place it in a certain spot, that helps us get our flow. That's it. Okay, so now we've got it. So now we know the club is going to act the same way every time when it goes to, it'll at least bend the same way every time when it goes to get used. Alrighty, so what we're going to do is we're going to move over and we're going to abrade the tips, make the glue, put them together and set them so that they'll dry.